ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। उकारस्वन्धकारो वैरुकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः विषेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ प्रज्ञानां शुक्रतानैः स्थिरजरनिकरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्तविष्टान् पुनरपि दिशनोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परमपदमतं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि। 66 जाग्रच्चित्तेक्षणीयास्ते न विद्यन्ते ततः पृथक् तथा तदृश्यमेवेदं जागृतश्चित्तमिष्यते। जागृत चित्त ईक्षणीयाः जाग्रतः दृश्याः जीवाः तच्चित्त अव्यतिरिक्ताः। In the waken, the jivas are perceived along with the Vishaya, where in the Chitta, just like in the dream, the Chitta only sees the entire dream. So it is not separate from the Chitta. In Vakan also, the Vishayas are attached to the Chitta, and the Chitta is the Swarupa itself. Chittekshaniyatvat Swapnadrik Chittekshaniya Jivavate Jagrataha Jivaha Chitta Avyatiriktaha. The Ikshaniya, whatever is the object, is not separate from the subject. The Swapnadrik Chitta Ikshaniya Jivavat. The Swapna just establishes the possibility that nothing is inseparable from the Chitta itself. That possibility is established through Swapna. With that possibility established, now you look at the Vakan. In the Vakan also, it is the same. Taccha jivekshanatmakam chittam drashtu avyatiriktam drashtu drishyatvat swapna chittavate. So I am moving fast because we have seen this Karika. We had started 67, but just to give some connection, I am just redoing this verse. Taccha jivekshanatmakam chittam, that jiva ikshana. The chittam is the jivekshana, the one that sees the jiva and that which is the sight of the jiva. The jiva sees the world through chittam, and the jiva also is available to the chittam. Therefore, drashtu avyatiriktam drashtu drishyatvad. this chittam is not separate from drashta because it is also drashtu drishyam. Swapna chittavate. In swapna, a world is seen and the seer is there. Both of them are as part of the drashta only. Even though you cognize a separate chittam and the vishaya of chittam, the reality is that both of them don't exist apart from being the drashta. Uktartham anyat, he said. Okay. We had started 67. Ube hi anyonya drishyete kim tadastiti chochyate lakshana shunyamubhayam tanmate naiva grihyate. Ube hi anyonya drishye te te ube anyonya drishye hi asmat. This chittam and jiva. The previous verse was talking about chittam and jiva, right? Jagra chitta ikshaniyaha chitteshaniyaha tatah pritak na vidyate. So the chitta and the chitta drishyam, that is what is called as chaityam by Bhashyagara. Whatever is chitta's object, they both anyonya drishye te, the chitta and the jiva, they are mutually dependent. Okay, chittam sees the jiva, jiva sees the chittam. In fact, chitta is there because jiva is there, jiva is there because chitta is there. There is a itaretara gamyatvam is there. Kim tadasti iti cha uchyate, what does it really exist if it is asked? Then the learned ones say lakshana shunyam ubhayam naiva grihyate tanmate. In their view of the jnani, they both don't exist because there is lakshana shunyam. Lakshana means here pramana. There is no pramana to independently establish either of them. Therefore, they won't exist. We will see in Bhashya. Jiva chitte ubhe. This ubhe, both. Both means both what? The jiva and chitta. The individuality, ahankara, which is the jiva, and the chitta, the cognition of the world. Okay. So, when there is a cognition of the world, the jiva is already there. Because the duality is dependent on what? Individuality. The dvayabhasam can happen only when the ahankara is there. You have to start with the count of 1. And when you have started the count of 1, then the many is there. And the many is the dvayabhasam. 1 is the ahankara, that is the jiva. So the chitta, which is revealing the dvaita jagat, is dependent on the jiva. The chitta is dependent on jiva because the manifoldness is rooted on the 1 first. Only when you start counting the 1, 2, 3, 4 and all is possible. And the count of 1 with the individual. I exist as an individual, then the other things. I have to start from me. I am there, then these things are there. And these things can go to any number of counts. So the jiva chitte, the jiva and chitta, ube chitta chaitya. So the chitta and chaitya. So the jiva also is what? Part of chaitya. What is available to the chitta includes the jiva also actually. Therefore, instead of saying jiva chitte, he now goes to chitta chaitya because the chaitya is not just jiva alone, but the other vishayas also. Therefore, even, why did he then say Jiva Chitta in the first place? Because in the previous verse the connection is Jiva. Jagra Chittekshaniyaste na vidyante tatah pratak tata tad drishyameva idam jagra chittam ishyate. Tad drishyam. Okay, so it is in the previous verse, it was actually, even though not explicitly stated in the Karika, but Jiva was implied. So he started saying Jiva Chitte Ube, but the Jiva now actually expands to all Chaitya. So he says Chitta Chaityete Anyonya Drishye. They are available to each other for objectification. Itaretara Gamye. Each is obtained through the other. How Jivadi Vishayapeksham hi Chittam Nama Bhavati. The Chittam is dependent on Jivadi Vishayapeksha. When the Jivadi Vishayas are available for cognition, then only you recognize that there is a Chittam. Without any Vishaya, the Chittam itself is not cognized. And when the Chittam is up, then along with it being up, the Jivadi Vishaya also are there in it. Okay. So when you cannot have a Chittam without Jivadi Vishayapeksha. Something or the other being cognized is essential to establish the cognizing mind. Okay, Jivadi Vishayapeksham hi Chittam Bhavati. And Chittapeksham hi Jivadi Drishyam. And when something is being seen, it implies Chittam is also perceived at the same time. Without Chittam being there, the Jivadi Drishyam is not there. Without Jivadi Drishyam not there, the Chittam also doesn't exist. So there is a Itaretara Gamyatvam between Chittam and Chaityam. So the Chaityam, which is Jiva Vishayapeksham, Jiva Vishayadi, Tadapeksham hi Chittam, and Chittapeksham hi Jiva Vishayadi, iti Gamyate. Why? Because they never obtain without being each other being there. They are always simultaneously there and they are always dependent on each other. Ataha te anyonya drishye. One sees the other sees the one. Therefore, they are mutually revealing each other. Tasmat na kinchidasti iti cha uchyate chittam va chittekshaniyam va. When such a thing is there, that means they both are not true. They both are dependent on something else actually. Because that kind of mutual dependence establishes that they both don't exist. Tasmat nakinchidasti iti cha uchyate chittam va chittekshaniyam va. Kim tadasti iti vivekina uchyate. Kim tadasti. So vivek is, what do they say? Nahi swapne hasti chittam va vidyate. So you need an example. How is it possible? Because I am seeing a Jagat, you are saying they don't exist because there is mutual dependence. Can you give an example where similar thing is there? He gives again example of Swapna. In the dream, there is elephant and there is also elephant perception. They are both available at the same time. Perception means what? The perceiving mind of elephant and the elephant. Both are unreal. But they both are simultaneously there. When the elephant, the perceived elephant is there, the elephant perception is also there. So, are they separate from each other? Whenever they are both there, that means they are actually one and dependent on something else. That one is not either of them. That is the point. The Hasti and Hasti Chittam are both not true. Only the Swarupa of the Swapna Drik is true. Therefore, nahi swapne hasti chittam va vidyate tata iha pi vivekinam. Vivekinam means jnani. For the jnani who are rooted in the Swarupa, neither there is Vishaya and Jiva, nor there is a Chitta. Okay, that is what Manonasha we talk about. Katham Lakshana Shunyam Ubhayam. What is Lakshana Shunyam? So he first defines Lakshana. Lakshyate anaya iti Lakshana. Lakshyate means it is pointed, it is arrived at. Through what? Anaya, through this. That by which things are arrived at is called Lakshana. Lakshyate anaya. That is nothing but pramanam, the means to know. Lakshana means to know. Lakshana Shunyam means Pramana Shunyam. There is no way to know either one independently. Chittam Chaityam. So, for you to know that Chittam exists, what is the basis? The Vishaya and Jiva. For you to know Vishaya and Jiva, what is the basis? You need the Chitta. Only the Chitta's existence shows you that there is a Jiva, and the Jiva's existence establishes Chittam. Without them, neither the Chittam nor the Jiva can be independently established. There is no other Pramana to establish either one of them. Pramanya Shunyam, Pramana Shunyam Ubhayam. Chittam Chaityam Dvayam Yataha Tanmatena Eva Tachittataya Eva Tadgrihyate. Which Chittataya? Chitta Chaitya Taya Eva. Okay. There is no other way to know. It just exists because you see both. That's it. Nahi gatamatim pratyakhyaya gataha grihyate. Without a gatamati, there is no gata. See, this is what is the. This is where the Bauddha, Vijnanavadi, the Vijnanavadi contention is brought in. We have already said we accept it because the gata, knowledge of gata, without the gata vritti, there is no gata. And without gata, you can say there is no gata vritti also. Actually, they are both mutually dependent. Napi gatam pratyakhyaya gatamatihi. Nahi gatamatim pratyakhyaya gataha grihyate. The gata and gata vritti are both the same. Without gata vritti happening, there is no gata. Some conscious vritti of gata has to be there. Then only gata's existence is. A perception of gata is essential to show the gata. And a gata is essential for gata vritti to take place. Therefore, there is a mutual dependence, and that extends to anything. Anything that is a subject, any object, is an object because there is that object vritti. That object mati has to be there. Without that object mati, there is no object. Therefore, he says, Nahi gatamatim pratyakhyaya gataha grihyate. Anything you take in the world, okay, you take the sun, without the sun mati, the sun cannot be established. Without the sun mati, the sun vritti doesn't exist. So, ube anyonya drishye. You can never separate the two. And neither one of them can be otherwise established. See, you can dismiss one and say the other really exists. To say, okay, sun exists. That means there should be an independent pramana to establish sun. But sun is only if sun is perceived. Similarly, the vritti also, in the absence of Vishaya, is not there. So, the vritti and the Vishaya are always together. And are they two things? Neither one is establishable. Therefore, both are superimposed on something else. That is the understanding. Nahi gatamatim pratyakhyaya gataha grihyate napi gatam pratyakhyaya gatamatihi. Nahi tatra pramana prameya bhedaha shakyate kalpayitum iti abhiprayaha. So you cannot say this is pramana, this is prameya, other than both actually being only the pramata. You cannot separate pramana prameya. In the absence of prameya, if pramana can be seen, fine. In the absence of pramana, prameya can be seen through other means, then you can establish. But pramana prameya always being like tightly together. In fact, they are not together. They are only one, which is actually the other, neither of them, which is the pramata. Therefore, he says, pramana prameya bedaha na sakyate kalpayitum. You cannot establish pramana prameya veda itself. Ubehi anyonya drishyete kim tadasti iti cha uchyate. Lakshana sunyam ubayam tanmate naiva grihyate. Tanmate means in the jnani's mate, there is neither of them are true, because they don't have an establishable existence apart from a mutually dependent existence. There is no individual existence for either the chitta or the chaitya. Yata swapnamayo jiva, next one. Yata swapnamayo jivaha jayate mriyate picha. Tata jiva ami sarve bhavanti na bhavanti cha. Then yata mayamayo jivaha jayate mriyate picha. Tata jiva ami sarve bhavanti na bhavanti cha. Yata nirmitako jivaha jayate mriyate picha. Tata jiva ami sarve bhavanti na bhavanti cha. He just gives 3 examples. The question can be, how can that kind of a jiva, which is chaitya, be born and be dead also, if it doesn't even exist? Okay, in Vartamana you are saying the chitta chaitya don't have independent pramana to establish them. Okay, establishing the chitta and chaitya as independent of each other is not possible, because chitta establishes chaitya and chaitya establishes chitta. Vishaya jiva established chitta, chitta established Vishaya jiva, but either of them is not establishable through any other pramana. Therefore, they don't exist as pramana prameya, you have said. That is fine. What about the jati and marana, janana marana of the jiva? Is it possible? They are born, otherwise how do they come about? So, gives example, yata swapnamayaha jivaha. In swapna also the jiva is born. This jiva also is born, the one who is seeing the dream. I mean, one who is the dreamer's instantiation as an jiva happens in the dream, and it also dies, born and dies, and it is not separated from the Vishaya that it is experiences. The chitta and chaitya in the dream being same, the jiva also is born and dead as part of the dream. Likewise, yata swapnamayaha jivaha jayate mriyate. Just like a jiva in the dream is born and dead, tata ami sarve jivaha. All these jivas in Vekan. All these jiva means what? All the chaityas. One jiva has a aham bhava, And other jivas are the idam that is part of the chaitya. Okay. That chaitya jivas are dependent on this chitta. Chaitya Vishaya Jiva are dependent on chitta, and chitta at the same time is dependent on all the chaityas. Therefore, Jivaha plural is there. That's why I have to say why this plural is. Because otherwise, so far we are talking about only one Jiva who is available to chitta as a Vishaya. But there are also other Jivas, not this Ahankara alone, the inferred Jivas. Like there are cows and dogs and animals and other human beings and plants. That is all part of the Vishaya. Ami sarve bhavanti na bhavanti cha. So their existence also is avidyamana only. Manushyadi lakshanaha Bhashyakara is going to say. Andajadayaha jivaha. The Andada, Swetaja, Udbija and all these, all kinds of lives, living beings are as though born only. Another example, one is Swapna, the other is Maya Mayaha. The magician's jiva also, it is the same reality. Yata Maya Mayo jivaha jayate mriyate bija, tata ami jivaha sarve bhavanti na bhavanti cha. Lastly, Nirmitakaha jivaha. He gives another example of Nirmitaka jivaha, the one who is created by Mani Mantra, Aushada and all that. So it's not a Mayavi jiva, but it is a created jiva that also comes about and goes away. That Maya, Mantra Aushada jiva is probably like this Yakshi and all that, which is like spun temporarily by some Tantrika, Mantrika. Apparently it happened those days. So, Maya Mayaha Vashyam, Maya Mayaha Mayavina Yah Kritaha, Nirmitakaha, Mantraushadhyadi Bihi Nishpataha. The Bhashyakara only now Nirmitakaha Jivaha is explaining Mantra Oshadhyadi Bihi Nishpatidaha. The Nishpatti, the one who is aroused through mantra and oshadi, that kind of a jiva. And Maya Mayaha by Mayavina, by the magician, a jiva is shown, projected. And Swapna Maya Nirmitakaha, the one who is through the Swapna. In fact, Bhashyakara clubs these two. Maya Mayaha Nirmitakaha one side, Swapna Maya Nirmitaka another side he has split. Okay. So this Nirmitakaha and Maya Maya are together, are both the same. But whereas this Karika actually separates it out, but Bhashyakara is seemingly clubbing them. That the Nirmitakaha Jiva also is a Maya Maya Jiva. And Swapna Jiva. They can be Andaja, Swetaja, Udbija, anything. Okay, it doesn't matter. Any kind of Jiva, when it is in the Swapna, you can see a horse, you can see a crow, you can see a human being, or you can see a tree in Swapna. All of them are what? Jayate, Mriyante cha. As dependent on the Chitta only. The Chaitya and Chitta are same. Okay, all is there, only is the Drashta Swarupa. Everything else is okay, is not, don't even say Vyavaharika Satyam and all that there. There is a problem with this Vyavaharika because during the Swapna you can probably say Vyavaharikam and all that. But when you are analyzing it from the Jagrata Avastha, they are non-existent. All that was there is only the Drashtu Swarupa. There is no Vyavaharikam and all also there. Only when you are within the dream, you can say this is Vyavaharikam, this is Pradibhasikam, this is Paramarthikam and all. When you are out of Swapna, you don't have to say Vyavaharik. There is no Vyavahara. All that was, is, will be there is only the Jnata Swarupa. So all of them, they were Chitta Chaitya were all projections on drashta swarupa. Swapnamaya nirmitaka andajadayaha jiva yata jayante mriyante cha tata manusyadi lakshana avidyamanaha eva chitta vikalpana matraha ityarthaha. So all these vacant birth and death and in between existence adavanteja yannasti vartamane api tattatha. It doesn't exist. Manushya dilakshana avidyamanaha eva. There is no human, there is no birth, there is nothing. Chitta vikalpana matraha. It is if you see that you say there is a human being. What is that human being? The human being is okay, let's say there are thousands of human beings I am seeing. Fine. You say they exist. Why do you say they exist? Because I am able to see them, perceive them. So they are available for your perception. They are established through your perception. Correct? There is no other way to establish them. The human being, it holds the same for anything, whether it is sun or moon or horse or tiger or whatever it is. Their existence is established because they are perceived. Is there an independent way to establish human beings other than the human being perception? Yes, we can say some scientists can give study and give you, or a photograph can tell you, but that also is established through what? You perceive that photograph. So the perception is the only establishing factor. And how is the perception there? Because what is perceived is there, the perception is there. So the Chaityam and this perception and the perceived are always together. There is no independent. That is what the Vijnanavadi clearly says. There is no independent means to establish the Vishaya other than it being a Vishayakara vritti. Just like in the dream. What is different between the dream and the vacant? No difference. There also, whatever is perceived is because of the perception. All the objects are non-different from the object vrittis. There is no independence. You think at the time of dream, you may think those objects exist. But in reality, if you see, the objects are not separate from the object vritti perception. Okay. It is the same in the vacant also. What is different? Without the perception, the objects are not establishable. And without the objects, the perception doesn't exist. Therefore, they both are mutually dependent. Hence, the reality is something else, which is the drashtu swarupa. Avidyamana eva chitta vikalpana matra ityartaha. 71. न कश्चित् जायते जीवः संभवोऽस्य न विद्यते एतत्तदुत्तमं सत्यं यत्र किञ्चिन्न जायते. So he concludes what? न कश्चित् जीवः जायते. There is no jiva who is born. Sambhavah na vidyate asya doesn't exist also. As independently jiva. Because jiva is what? Chaitya only. Only the chitta shows that you are jiva. Okay. Correct. Without chitta revealing the jiva, ahankara, where are you? And that chitta you can see is dependent on the you. Therefore, the same thing we have been saying so far. So no jiva is born. Etad tad uttamam satyam. Yatra kinchin na jayate. He calls it as uttamam satyam. Therefore, Bhashyakara brings vyavahara satyam and paramartha satyam here. I was searching for where all Bhashyakara uses this vyavaharika satyam and all that. It's very difficult. So even though in Prakriya, The Sampradaya uses this Vyavaharika Satyam, Pratipādika Satyam, Paramarthika Satyam so many times. But Bhashyakara directly using it is only few places. So here he does because Karika says Uttamam Satyam. The moment you say Uttamam Satyam, that means there are many Satyams, correct? Isn't it true? See, he is the best guy, means there are other guys. Then only you can use superlative or even comparative. There is a better Brahman. Can you say? You cannot say. There is only one Brahman. There is a better Brahman, you can't say. He is the best Brahman, you can't say. You can say this is the best cow because there are many cows. So he has to say Etat Satyam. If Karika Kara had said, then Bhashyakara would have said Satyam Ekameva Brahma. Okay, there is a Ekameva Dvitiyam. All that can be said. But he says Uttamam Satyam. Because he says Uttamam Satyam, Bhashyakara brings in Vyavaharika Satyam and Paramartha Satyam. व्यवहार सत्य विषये जीवानां जन्म मरणादिः स्वप्नादि जीववते इति उक्तम्. So in the vyavahara, at the time of transaction, okay, you can transact, correct? In a dream also you are transacting. It's not satyam, but transaction is going on. Experience is going on, continuing. Similarly, in Jagrat also, it is not Satyam, but you still have to eat food. You have to digest it, you have to earn it. All that is there. So, that is what you have to give a term for it. You have to say it is Vyavahara, though it is not Satyam. There is no Vyavahara Satyam. It is Vyavahara, that's all. The moment you qualify a Satyam, means it is not Satyam. It is like stainless steel. Means it's not steel. That's all. You are qualifying in order to say it is as though a steel. That's all. Similarly, Vyavahara Satyam means it is not Satyam. But in Vyavahara, it appears as Satyam. That's all. During Vyavahara. It's a transactably fine. Like we say, no, Newton's laws were dismissed by Einstein. But in Vyavahara, all the laws are still applicable because at a gross level, they do find utility. Similarly, Vyavahara Satya Vishaye, Jivanam, Janma Maranadihi, Swapnadi Jivavate. So just like in Swapna and the Maya and the third thing, whatever, the created Jiva, like that, the Janma Marana is there when you are living. So you, because you see a child being born, it is being brought up, correct? So, but you analyze that also, that birth is what? Chaityam only. It is, you are perceiving the birth, therefore there is birth. Otherwise, the reality is Chitta Chaitya, it's all only. Even at the time of a birth being perceived, also it is Chinmatram only. It's a vision. You are shifting the standpoint from the content, from actually the object to the subject, the content of the experience. This, the essence of what is perceived as duality, what is the truth of it. So it is actually a vision. The same world, the same perception, but you are reorienting how you look at. That is what is called jnana. So reorienting means what? Whatever is already existing, you are now seeing. That's it. That is why jnanam is not something that is creating something new. Advaitam means Dvaitam is gone. Brahman has realized itself, all that. It just, all the time, it is the same reality. This jnanam just dismisses the ignorance. It just removes the ignorance, that's all. And Brahman remains Brahman. So, Uttamam tu Paramartha Satyam. Na kaschit jayate jivaha iti. It is never born. The Paramartha Satyam is what? There is no jiva ever born. So, moksha and all is not there, Paramartha. That is why Shastra, the question is going to be asked, then what about Shastra? Shastra is there, yes, but Shastra is for what? For liberating the jiva. But jiva himself doesn't exist. Then what Shastra? Then Shastra also in reality is not there. It's all Chaityam only. So this is a problem for most of the Purva Mimamsakas. The sensitivity about Shastra, Ishvara, Sriman Narayana, these are big problems. Your emotional attachments. Then this kind of thing, that's why this was kept as Gouda, Rahasyam, because people have certain sensitivities. But unfortunately, when reality has to be spoken about, that sensitivity will get disturbed. And there will be some casualties because of that. Okay, people may then say, no, this is not for me, all that. Pramanya Buddhi is also within Mithya only. And that only liberates. See, all that is fine. We have to give it the respect because that only liberates you. But then that doesn't make it real. Because the person who is getting liberated himself is not real. That Swarupa is still Brahman only. Then what is the question of the liberation? The liberation is not real. Yeah. Moksha is not real. Because there is no Baddha. Jiva himself is not there. Where is the question of moksha? Therefore, if moksha is not real, then jiva is not real. Where is Shastra, Pramana and all that? Everything is dependent on jiva only. No? Pramana is needed as for the Pramata. Pramata himself is not there. Pramana Prameya, where is the need? Where is the pravritti? Obviously, it's not there. But you don't understand, then if you don't understand the Swarupa, at that time you can't say Shastra is not there. That is foolishness. The Shastra not there is itself is it's a matter for you to understand how it is not apramanam. Pramanam becomes apramanam there. Because there is no prameya itself. Pramata also is not there. All that is there is only Ekarasam Brahma. Therefore, Pramana Prameyatir Prameya Vyavahara itself is not there. So that is something to be understood. It is not till you understand it, it's not that Pramanam has no validity. In order for you to gain this knowledge, Pramana is needed. But the knowledge you gain is there is no Pramana because there is no Pramatri Prameya. 72. Chittaspanditamevedam grahya grahakavadvayam chittam nirvishayam nityam sangam tena kirtitam. Chittaspandidameva idam grahya grahakam grahya grahakavat dvayam. Dvayam means dvaita. The dvaita anubhava is what grahya grahakatvam is there in the dvaita. That is what is dvaita means what? The grahya grahaka. We have seen it many times. The object, subject, object. That's the grahya grahaka technically. Grahya is subject, object. Grahaka is the subject. Subject object is the essence of duality. The whole thing is Chitta Spanditam. Why? For the reasons we have already just discussed in the previous Karikas. It is all Chitta Spanditam, spun by Chitta. These are all used by what? the Vijnanavadi. Buddha's words, Chitta Spanditam. Even the Samvriti is a heavily used word in Pali and Buddhist. The way it is like Avarana. Smriti means a covering. So here for the Maya Mithya and all, Samvriti is used for Maya here. But the word has been borrowed from the Buddhist parlance. That is why we have already seen many times the Mandukya Karika, it uses the Buddhist words to explain Advaita. That's why there is a distinction between how the Buddhists use the words and how Karikakaras use the same words, because it is used in a context. The Samvriti we accept, we also accept. That Samvriti in the context of Maya, we accept that there is a Samvriti. Ajnanam, right? And the Dharma as the Jiva also we use. Chitta Spandanam also we accept. These are all Buddhist words we accept. But we don't accept that there is no Adhara or Shunya Adhara here. That is where the difference is. But people who don't understand this, they say that Adi Shankara followed Buddhism in a colored way because he followed the Karika, and they blame this Gaudapada to be a Buddhist and all that. So that is why the Chitta Spanditameva idam Grahya Grahakavat Dvayam. Chittam Nirvishayam Nityam Asangam. So there is no Vishayam in Chittam. Nirvishayam eva Chittam. If it is Nirvishayam, it is Nyapti alone. See, only with Vishayam it is what is mind. When I am Parvatvam also is perceived. The Jiva is perceived and the Vishaya of the Jivas are also perceived. Everything is within the Chittam. And that when there is no Vishaya, then Chittam also is not a Vishayi Chittam, but Nyapti Matram. Just in your mind, remove all the Vishayas and see what is left behind. Just try to recognize. That is your Swarupa. Nirvishaya Swarupa. Chittam Nirvishayam. And that is Nityam. Why Nityam? Because time also, Kala also is Vishayam only. Very interesting, no? Kala is Vishayam. Desha, space is also Vishayam. It is a Chitta Vishayam. If you really see, Vritti Vishayam eva Desha Kala. Vishayaha. Or Vishayav if you want to say. Desha Kalau, Vritti Vishayav, you can say. Or Desha Kala Vastu Vadayaha. Chitta Vishayaha. Because Kala also is Vishaya, Chittam being Nirvishayam is Nityam because it is Kalatitam. Chittam Nirvishayam Nityam Asangam. Bhashikara says Nirvishayatvat Asangam. Savishayasya hi Vishaye Sangaha. This Brahman being alone. Where will it have Sangam? With whom? There is nothing other than it. Like in Purana, this Lord Parameshwara, Shiva, no, is shown as single, Ekaha. He doesn't have anybody else to have. Though Shakti and all in Vyavaharika we talk about. But Paramarthika we say is Ekaha, he is one. There is nobody else. There is no Sangha. He doesn't have parents also. He doesn't have a Kula. Akulinaha. Even this Daksha in the Daksha Yajna, he calls, oh Shiva, he doesn't have any kula. There are no parents for that fellow. He is a single guy. He doesn't wear any dress. He only has basma. All this what symbolic. This is called Nindastuti. Because there is no guna for it. Nirguna vastu. So where is dress? Only Sagunam Brahma will have all kinds of bhushana. Like Mahavishnu. Sakala Kalyana Guna Sampannaha. Alankara Priyaha. Because all guna, guna, guna. Here, there is. So where is the Sangha? Sangha with what? There should be something other than the Brahman for it to have Sangha. Savishayasya Vishaye Sangaha. Nirvishayatva Chittam Asangam. Bhashikara. Tena Kirtidam. Sarvam Grahya Grahakavate. Chitta Spandidameva Dvayam. All the dual world is Chitta Spandidam. Shanika Vijnanam. Chitta Spandanam. The Alata Shanti is all Spandanam. Whatever Grahya Grahaka that has been all through spoken about is all Spandanam only. You see the Vishayakara Chittam is what is called Spandanam. There is no separate Vishaya and Vishayakara Chitta. They are both same and Grahya Grahaka. They are rooted in the Swarupa of Grahaka actually. Paramartataha Atma eva iti nirvishayam. There is no Vishaya Paramartataha because there is only Atma. Then just like in Swapna, there is only Atma. On it, there is a Vishaya and Chitta Spandana and all that. There is a huge difference between the Sunyavadi and us, okay? They say everything is Sunya. We say the direct opposite. We say everything is Brahman. Atma eva. There is nothing other than Atma. Not even you are there. As in individual. But these people, all these Dvaitis, Vaitadvaitis, Tarkika, Nayayika, all these fellows say that, we don't have bhakti. Arre, we have highest bhakti because we give up the individuality itself. We are not saying, I want to keep the individuality and go and sit in Vaikuntha or Golok Vrindavan. That means you are not willing to give up yourself to Ishvara, right? Whereas Advaiti says, Arre, only Ishvara is there. Where am I? You want to call me as Buddha, I am fine. You want to shout at me, it's okay. Because from your standpoint, you are seeing that way, fine. It's part of Niyati. It's all what? Mithya, no? We don't care. That's why in this Karika itself, he says we don't have any fight with them. It's all accepted. From where they stand, it is real. That's all. It all depends on from where you are looking at things. You are climbing, say, Kedarnath. How the earth looks depends on which step you are standing on, right? Yeah, I'm not saying I am greater than them and all. That is not the point. What we are trying to say is, you depends on where you are standing, from which angle you are seeing something. If you are on the 20th step, it will appear one way. If you are on 70th step, it will appear one way. If you are on 300th step, it will appear one way. That's all. Everything is true from their standpoint. That's it. From our drishti, which we see as the Shastra drishti, there is no jiva. Because for jiva to exist, chittam has to be waken up. If there is no chittam like in deep sleep, where is jiva? So both chittam and jiva are not real. If they are real, they have to exist all the time. Satta does exist. Okay. It cannot be a non-existence. Tena nirvishayatvena nityam asangam kirtidam. असंगो हि अयं पुरुषः इति श्रुतेः सविषयस्य हि विषये संगः निर्विषयत्वात् चित्तम् असंगमित्यर्थः. So we have seen this. Next one, 73. योऽस्ति कल्पितसंवृत्त्या परमार्थेन नास्त्यसौ परतन्त्राभिसंवृत्त्या स्यान्नास्ति परमार्थतः. कल्पितसंवृत्त्या परमार्थेन नास्ति असौ. संवृत्ति also he says कल्पितमेव. परतंत्र अभिसंवृत्त्या नास्ति परमार्थतः. Like I said, the samvriti is a Buddhist word, and here it has been used for Maya. Bhashyakara introduces this with a question: Nanu nirvishayatvena chet asangatvam चित्तस्य न निस्संगता भवति यस्मात् शास्ता शास्त्रं शिष्यश्च इत्येवमादेः विषयस्य विद्यमानत्वात्. See, you are teaching me this. Karikakara has written something to teach me. I am a Shishya. You are a Shasta. You are teaching a Shastram. There is this Shastra Pramana, whether it is Veda or Vedanta or whatever, Nyaya. This kind of a possibility can be there only if the Dvaya is Satyam. If there is no Sangam, then how is this possible? Nirvishayatvena ched asangatvam चित्तस्य न निस्संगता भवति यस्मात् शास्ता शास्त्रं शिष्यश्च इत्येवमादेः विषयस्य विद्यमानत्वात्. So for that only this answer, न एष दोषः कस्मात् यः पदार्थः शास्त्रादिः विद्यते सः कल्पितसंवृत्त्या. This shastradi also is a kalpita samvritti only, like we saw earlier, including shastra, because the jiva himself is kalpita, his ajnana is kalpita, moksha is kalpita, baddhatvam or bandhanam is kalpita. For a kalpita problem, a kalpita solution is good enough. And the pramanya also, pramanya buddhi also is kalpita. Everything is kalpita. Kalpita cha sa paramartha pratipatti upayatvena. Samvridischa sa taya yosti paramarthena nasti asau na vidyate. Nyate dvaitam na vidyate iti uktam. When you see the reality, there is no duality. Duality doesn't, it's not that duality ceases to exist. It is Dvaitam was, is never there, will never be there. There is no Dvaita at all. There is no question of when Vandya Putraha is neither in reality or in Mithya or Maya exists. We just say, that's all. I think here only he said no. यश्च परतंत्र अभिसंवृत्त्या परशास्त्र व्यवहारेण स्यात्. See this parashastra vyavahara, here also the Vaiseshika Paksha is picked up. If you read the Tika here, Anandagiri, it is primarily taken as a verse which contests the Padarthas. Here, because Bhashyakara also says, Parashastra Vyavaharena Syat Padarthaha Saha Paramarthataha Nirupyamanaha Nasti Eva. The Padarthas also cannot be established. Why this Gunaguni Bhava is picked up for analysis by Tikakara? We will see in the next session. It is this verse is actually taken up to address not just Chanikya Vijnanavadi, but primarily the Vaiseshika. Okay, we'll see. Om Purnamada Purnamida Purnat Purnamadachade Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.